Welcome to the TCPalm editorial board meeting to interview candidates in the election for St. Lucie County School Board District 3. I'm Larry Reisman, columnist and community editor, and I'm joined by fellow editorial board members Adam Neal, our editor and news director, Blake Fontenay and Ed Killer, our columnists, and Louise Philippine, a reader advisory board member. Special thanks to our guest today for meeting with us and streamlining the process by completing questionnaires ahead of time. Questionnaires and replays of our editorial board interviews can be found at tcpalm.com/elections. At the conclusion of this interview, editorial board members will discuss possibly writing an editorial to recommend a candidate in this race. I'll lead the questioning and open it up to other editorial board members at the end. We might end up having more of a conversation than just a simple question and answer. Our goal is to be completed in about 45 minutes. Because of our time constraints, we ask that you keep your answers concise. So let's start off with Donnita. And this is a question from a reader. Do you have any ideas about how parent participation can be improved in schools?
Yes. When I was at St. Lucie Elementary, we had a large Hispanic population, and now the county's pretty 33. So what we did was that after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays in our computer lab, we invited the parents to come in, and we worked with speaking English, helping with any kind of questions they had about their child's performance. We had tutors there in the rooms, and we even had babysitters if they had younger children. And I think that if you can get the parents more involved in the schools, it works out better for all of us. It helps the child, it helps the parent understand what were our expectations, and it helps the teachers understand the family dynamics better.
Thank you. Donna?
Yes, is that the same question?
Same question, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, we have been working on just that very thing, getting the parents more involved with the student and with the education of the student. We need to make sure that our parents are working with their kids before they even come to us. And so we are educating our parents on the importance of building a very strong foundation with their kid and our students, so that when they get to us, they are ready for the kindergarten level. So we're working even more so, and we're more diligent now. This year we will be in that area because we want to really work on improving our third grade reading level. And we realize that we're going to have the community's help with this, as well as the parent. But also just getting the parent involved in coming out to the school board meetings, getting the parents involved. I've always been an advocate of parents coming out to school board meetings because they need to know how the system is ran, and the community as well. But also within the classroom, working together with the teacher. And we've been doing a lot of that. It is the result of us having almost an A district right now. I've got some great news in that area. Hopefully I'll be able to talk about it later on, as well as it's been the result and the help of getting the parents involved in the graduation rate as well. So we have been working on that diligently and have come a long way in that area.
Larry, you're muted.
I knew that would happen at some point today. We'll start with Donna on this next question. Let's see. Do you have any ideas concerning how we can make our schools safer?
Yes, sir. We 4 years ago, we passed the referendum, and part of that referendum is that we make our schools more safe. So we have been doing that as well. All of our schools have a deputy officer on that school. We have, which is very important, to have a police officer on every campus, and we've done that. We also have provided a mental health counselor for every school, because part of making a school safe is making sure that our children are mentally, emotionally, and socially able to relate to one another, and making sure that that school is a safe haven for every child. There should not be bullying in our schools, and we have focused on in that area, and that has helped as well. So we also have where we have a one entrance policy. All of our doors are locked at all times, and people and community have to buzz in and say what they want to come in. We have trained what they're at the school for. We have also trained our staff. They've received lots of training in the area of safety, what to do, what to not to do, especially that staff that's at the front desk. We also have worked with our police department to make sure that every building, every school building is numbered, so that if there is any emergency, we can get to the right building at the right time in record time. So we also have fenced in our schools so that it would be harder for an intruder to come in right up to the door. So these are all different ways that we have implemented safety in our schools. And thank God, I'm a minister at trade, so I really do talk about God within my, in my connections with people. But thank God that we have passed that referendum, because it has done a lot for public school education and in that safety area as well.
Okay, thank you. Donnita, any thoughts about how the school district can make its schools safer?
Yes. And Miss Mills is absolutely right. They have done all of those. I would reinforce our infrastructure. I would also take a look at our SRO program. The program is a wonderful program. It's changed over the years. I think maybe if we got the resource officers back into the classrooms, we had DARE at one point. We haven't been doing that. It's communication. If the students feel really comfortable with their resource officer, and the resource officer is walking around, he's in the parent pickup, he's out at the bus loading zone, he's walking through the classrooms, he's in there in the lunchroom, then they feel more comfortable. If they see something, they'll say something. Also, unfortunately, there are times when a student has been moved from one school to another because of incidents, but that information doesn't follow through to the school he's been moved to. And so we are unaware that there's an issue there until it rises its head, and then we have an issue. So it would be nice if we had some database to help the individuals. If they know that they're troubled, then we can help them. We're educators. We would never do or say anything to hurt a child, but if we were aware that the child had some problems, then we could help alleviate them or point them in the right direction, get them to the counselor. And I think that might help some of the issues that we're having in schools.
Thank you. Donnita, we'll start with you on this next question. What plans would you have to continue the progress that the district has made in recent years?
Could you be a little more specific? Do you mean in the reading and the writing? Do you mean in the graduation? Which area
Yes,
are you?
well, either one of those. I mean, you can select whichever metric you like. Well, whichever one is most important to you.
Oh, okay. The graduation rate is phenomenal. This is wonderful. The last 7 years, we're over 90% graduation. Absolutely wonderful. Unfortunately, though, there is more than half of our population that is not reading on grade level. And those are the ones we really need to start spending our time and effort helping. And I really think that where we need to start is at the elementary level. And in reading and math, we need to homogeneously group them. Just in their reading and their math, so that we meet them where their need is. If we can do that, that when they leave elementary level, they are reading on grade level and their math is on grade level, then a lot of the problems that we encounter in the middle and the high school won't be there. Yes, they are graduating again at a phenomenal rate. This is wonderful. But we're using other means than the traditional education to get them there. We're using credit retrieval. We're using Edgenuity. We're using, they're not getting the quality education they should be receiving. And that's happening because we failed them down at the elementary level. And it's not the teachers. The teachers are wonderful. But if you're teaching a reading class for 90 minutes and you have to divide that 90 minutes between up to 5 different grade levels and try to reach every one of their needs, you've really cut yourself short. And the student, you really are disadvantaging the student. They should be grouped by their ability level in the reading and the math, and we should meet them where they're at, and we should build them up and give them that strong foundation. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Donna.
Yes, the good news that we have and have had for several years is that our academic achievement level among students have risen. When I came here in 2010, we were scoring in as a district a low C, almost a D district. Today, and I do mean literally today, we are 1 point away from an A in spite of COVID and all that we have had to go through. We just got the news today, and this has been an up climb every single year, but we just got the news today that for the first time in the history of St. Lucie County and the Treasure Coast, we are scoring the highest among the Treasure Coast in our academic achievements. Our students are now number one. They have outbeated in student performance. They have outbeated Martin County, Indian River County, and Okeechobee County. And this is the first time since 2002 when the grading system from the state of Florida was developed and implemented. So our children are getting what they need. They cannot graduate. They cannot graduate unless they pass state exams. And these exams are no joke. And we have worked very diligently with every child to look at their weaknesses in the areas that they are going to be tested in, whether it be reading or be math, or if it's science or whatever their areas are. We have focused on every single child, from especially starting from middle school on up. And the children who may not be at level reading are our IEP students, which is independent education plan for a student that may be ESE, special needs. They can get diplomas, high school diplomas, without passing the exams, but they are the only ones that can do that. And it's very complicated for a student to become an ESE. We have to get doctors and the medical team together and all type of proof that that student has a special need. As for all others, they must pass these state exams. So our children are achieving. That is how they're able to graduate.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with you, Donna.
Yes, sir.
Can you cite, you talked about a couple things before, but maybe there are different metrics for you, but can you please cite 3 specific metrics you will use to determine whether the school district is meeting its mission each year?
Well, we definitely, number one, want to use the data that tells the story of what is going on within the school district, and not just one time, but following that student and following that data throughout the year. The other thing is to be able to make sure that our students are tested periodically before they get to that main test that they need to have to go on to the next grade level, or really the next grade level to pass. One of the metrics that we are using is just what we just got today. The metric through what the state has come up with and how they have used our data, and they have used our what is necessary for them to come up with the school grades as well as our graduation rate. So hopefully I've answered that question.
Well, I'd like you to be more specific if you could, or let me see if I get this right. Number one is school grades. Number two is tests at the end of the year, maybe. And the third one would be to follow the student data.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. And I guess that would be it. And in following that data, bring about a result of how we can improve that particular student, that individual student, so that they can be successful.
Okay, Donnita, what would your response to that question be? What three metrics would you use to help determine whether the school district is meeting its mission each year?
Sorry. Well, the one would be, right now we have this very high graduation rate. But then when we look at the score for their readiness to go on to college, we have less than 25% of them are ready to actually move on. And again, that's because their reading and their math scores are so low. I understand that they're passing these state tests, but that's because we are so good at teaching them to take a test, and they are so good at taking those tests because they do what we ask of them. But we're not teaching them to read, and we're not teaching them to think. So I would look at how many more are actually ready to go off into college. And not every child wants to go to college. Not every child needs to go to college. But wherever they decide to go, whether they decide to go into business, whatever career they choose, they should be able to move up to that next level. And that's what we really need to look at. So I would be looking at how many more are ready to go into college. I would look at those scores, like Ms. Mills said. Those scores are an actual indicator on how well they're doing. And we look at those scores, and each year we can see in the 3rd grade, in the 10th grade, they are not on level. And that's where they should be. And they can do it. Take a look at Lincoln Park. If one school in our area can do it, all of our children can do it.
So if we're looking at the three metrics, yours were postgraduate readiness, test scores, maybe, and then are those? Am I right there?
Reading and in math. Sorry.
Okay.
And reading and math, and then their readiness to go on to a college without having to take remediation classes.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you. We'll start with you on this next question, Donnita, which is, what are the three biggest issues the school district faces right now?
Well, I know that going into this next year, we're going to have quite a bit more students than we had leaving. And in some areas, we were filled to capacity. Treasure Coast is way over the population that they should have. And I know that we have a new school being built. And I know that after that, we have another one. And we're going to need both of them. And we're going to need them as soon as possible. We do a very good job of keeping the student ratio the way it should be, the way it's designed here in the state of Florida. And that's good for us. I think that as the population grows, we need to know our students better. So I really think that our safety and our discipline should be revisited. I think that after that year that they took off for COVID, a lot of the students maybe aren't quite sure of what our expectations are, behaviorally speaking. And so I think we should reiterate our expectations. And after we reiterate our expectations, then our schools and our staff, everyone should be in agreement that these are our expectations and this is what we expect, and we will take no less. So discipline is going to be an issue, I believe. Overcrowded might be an issue if we can't curtail that. And I know that we're probably going to have a number more students that may be in need of free or reduced lunches. So we're going to have to revisit how many are available or how we look at that. I guess we could just request it from the state. I'm sure we can, but we need to have that ready to go.
Thank you. So Donna, what are the three biggest issues facing the St. Lucie County School District in the coming year?
the three, I'll start out with making sure that we maintain the successes that we've already had. You can't just get to a certain place and then walk away from it thinking that it will maintain itself. So we have to continue the plan that and the strategic plan that we put together to get us to where we are today. The other thing is definitely because of the time that kids have been out with the COVID and dealing with that, we've had a lot of social, emotional problems with many of our students. And so we are going to really tighten up in the area of disciplinary, but we are not talking negative reinforcement. We're talking, and we've already have wonderful programs that enforce positive reinforcement. So we're going to really zoom in like a laser in that area so that we can help children again understand that their emotional and their social needs, how important that is. I have an after school program that I've had here in Fort Pierce for 35 plus years now on Avenue D. And I have worked with children that have had disciplinary problems and have struggled in the social area. And we have made such a tremendous difference. Our kids are now, many of them in their 30s and 40s, and we still have the program. In fact, I'm here now at Save Our Children, and we're in a summer program with kids. We don't just have them come in here to play. We work with them. During the summer in their academics, but we also work with them in socialism. When they come in the door, they say things like good morning. We teach them and practice saying thank you. Simple stuff that we used to always have. And now it's kind of like we've zoomed in so much in the academic area that we have neglected some of the social area. Now, when I came on in 2010 up to about 2015, or even a little 2013, we were St. Lucie County was expelling so many young men, especially Black males. And we have turned that around where we don't have any type of gap in that area. In fact, we have not had an expulsion come before us. And we used to have them once a month, several ones coming before us. We have not had one come before us, I could say, in a good solid 7 years, because we have worked diligently to provide those other areas that kids need to help them emotionally and mentally, and to also not put them out on the street, but put them in programs that will focus on what they need, and then put them back in the mainstream when they are ready, but not put them out in the street. So that has made a tremendous difference in our children's achievement and accomplishments and the graduation rate, as well as the academic performance.
Okay, so when you're talking about the three biggest challenges for the school district, one is to maintain this success, one is the discipline, and the third is?
The third would be our third grade test assessments. Our third graders right now is scoring not where we want them at when it comes to that assessment that they need to take in order to even go to the fourth grade. So we have to, that's the other area that we're going to laser beam on, will be the third grade, but not just the third grade. But in order to help our third graders do better on the testing, we will go back even further, starting with the preschoolers. I have a early childhood education a director certification, and I've had it for a long time. I've worked with children on the level of preschool and even 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. And what we need to do is on each of those levels, age levels, not only work with them in strengthening their reading skills, but and to do that in a way that we will improve on that reading exam that comes for our third graders. Now, what I've done and what I've continued to do is I work closely with the parent, make sure the parent has their responsibility to help us accomplish the goals we want to accomplish. And depending on that child, for me, depending on that child and child care, I have taken some to their reading before they even enter school. And because of that, I did it with all my children, my own birth children, my grandchildren. All of them are excellent, very strong readers. And I did that in my programs, my child care programs. So no, every child will not get to that point, but you take every child as far as they can go. And I think we're kind of behind as a state and what we're thinking with our, early education for students, where we don't have the high expectations that our kids need in order to take them to the next level. But we are going to be focusing, starting on that level, working with the daycares that's out there, the child care programs that's out there, helping them to understand what we really need them to do with the children. For example, one of the things that right now, child care providers frown on, I'm not talking about the people that own it, but the ones that are given the money, they frown on children doing diddles, what's called diddles. And diddles are those little, when you get those booklets, those work booklets, you can get them at Barnes and Nobles, you can get them at Walmart, different places, educational stores, and they have sheets for 2-year-olds. They have sheets for 3-year-old level, 4-year-old level. When they get to the kindergarten, they're doing diddles all day, almost every day, so that they can understand the concept of reading and get the comprehension level that they need. So why not start that earlier? But at this time, what our child care centers are expected to do through their funders is not to do any diddles. That's frowned upon. So we have to change some of our mentality to get to the next level. And this is what my difference on the school board has done to get us from that low C and that low graduation rate of 75% to the 99% that we're at now. And we're 1 point away from an A. And we've done that through laser focus and changing some of those ways that we've been doing for years and bringing in new concept and new ideas.
Thank you. Let's move on to another topic. Donna, we'll start with you. What do you think are the 3 most important things our school children should learn before they graduate?
That's a good one. The first thing that comes to mind is social acceptance and caring about humanity, caring for one another, looking out for one another, having mannerisms. Today, I was just talking to the children about, speaking up. Don't mumble, speak up, show that you're intelligent. When you're shaking somebody's hand, you don't do it like a little limp thing or like, you give them a firm handshake. You look them in the eyes. You treat one another the way you want to be treated. So our kids, number one, before they graduate, I think we really need to work with them in those areas. And then the second thing, and would you repeat the question? I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly for you.
What are the 3 most important things our school children should learn before high school graduation?
Okay. The second thing would be learning some sort of skill. Everybody, as it's been said already by Ms. Donnita, everybody's not going to college. We need to make sure that we have our career and technical program strong enough to get our children some sort of skill. And today, what we've done, we've gone from 9 programs to now we have 56 career and technical programs that children can choose from. And we have state certifications for the majority of those skills that they are learning in that program. And so they have to pass again state exam for that particular skill. But what that does is ensure that our children are ready for our business world, for our community, and that they have a skill to survive. Even if they go to college, it's good to have some sort of technical skill that can help them with part-time work. If it's doing nails, for example, or mechanic work, or whatever they choose to do, we have almost a career in everything you can think of in our school districts now. And we gave out 2,607 certified state certificates last year, work ready. So our children need to be work ready when they graduate.
And what is the third? What about the third? What about the third one?
The third is making sure that they are educated, that they have the reading skills they need to have, the math skills they need to have. This is so important, the comprehension skills they need to have, because without that, they can't go through college. If they don't understand what they're reading, right? Or they don't know how to read. I mean, college is mostly just understanding the material. So we need to make sure our children are educated as well.
Thank you. Donnita, let you answer that question. What are the three most important things our school children should learn before high school graduation?
Well, I think the tools to success for everyone is one, being able to read. Two, teaching them how to think, not what to think. And then giving them critical thinking skills so that they can make logical, reasonable decisions for themselves.
Thank you. I'd like to open it up to the other members of the editorial board to see if anybody else has any questions. Blake? Yeah, Blake is muted.
Sorry about that. All right. I would like to ask this question of both candidates, but I would prefer to hear Ms. Graben's answer on this first, and I can explain why I want to do it in that order after we've gone over the question, but I would like to hear her answer without hearing what the incumbent has to say on this issue. A lot of people think that the single most important issue for a school board, the single most important thing they do is hire a superintendent. Recently, this district hired a new superintendent from within without conducting a national search. I'd like to get your thoughts on whether that was the appropriate way to handle this.
My concern with that is now you have limited your choices. I haven't met Dr. Prince yet. I was volunteering at the school when he was there, but I was in helping the seniors, so I didn't get an opportunity to meet with him, but I look forward to it. But I think that anytime you limit your choices, you diminish your decision. You limited your choices. So I can't say that I think he's a bad choice because I don't know him yet, but I would never limit myself. I think it's very important to meet as many candidates as you can and to find out, do they have the same view? Do they have the same goals? Do they have the same expectations that you do for the school system? And after all, we are in charge of the school system. We hire this person to oversee it. They're our manager. They're the ones that are running the school. And we want to make sure that their philosophy goes along with ours.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Mills, I'd like to ask you the same question, but obviously you were part of that decision, and I'd listened to the meeting that night, and it sounded to me like you were, before the decision was made to actually hire Dr. Prince, that you were saying you had some questions about whether the board was handling this the right way. So if you could kind of tell me a little bit about your thinking there and, just how you ended up voting to support Dr. Prince at the end of that process.
Mhm. Very good. Um, I felt as if the board should have at least had an outreach for applicants interested within our school district. See, what we have to understand is that we've come a long ways as a school district. And for many years, we struggled, okay? So we do not want to go backwards. We want to continue to move forward. So my concern was that we gave more people, at least within the district. We've got other people that sit in different departments that are very, very knowledgeable in what we have been doing for the past 7 years. Okay. So I wanted it to be some interviews. I didn't want the national search because I did not feel we needed a national search. Why spend all of that money on a national search when we already really kind of know what we have? Why bring someone in? I mean, it would be different if we were not doing well and we needed to bring someone in that can improve the district, but we have been doing exceptionally well. And Dr. Prince, I have worked with him for the 7 years that he's been here. And this man is brilliant. And he has played a huge part. This is why I went that way. I didn't like the way we went about it, but I knew that Dr. Prince would be able to not only maintain, but take us further. He was brought in by our outgoing superintendent, Wayne Gent. When Wayne Gent came in, he brought Dr. Prince with him. And he's the data man, Dr. Prince. And he's also, I believe, the brainchild behind a lot of what has gone on in us improving our school district. And so that is why I fully support him. And I would not want anyone else in that position because we've come a long ways. We know what we have. We don't, when you get new people, it's like a learning curve starts. And, and they have to learn their position. They have to learn, the district and the people they're around. And that can take away from the time where they can laser in and focus on strategies that can be successful for our students. So I totally support him. He knows that I have very high expectations, and he has met those expectations as a deputy superintendent. And so he's the man for the job. And so that is why I went along with bringing him in. But I wanted to make sure that the rest of the board members, as well as the community, knew that the way that we went about it, I thought we could have done better.
Well, thank you for your answer there. And I do want to follow up on one thing because this came up during one of our interviews with the previous group of candidates. But there's this issue of the cost of conducting a national search. And I would submit to you that a search could be conducted by the HR staff that the district currently has, advertising through the internet, accepting applications through the internet at minimal expense. This is 2022, and that's the way hiring is done for a lot of positions. Any reaction to that? I mean, I'm just saying this cost issue seems like kind of a phantom issue.
I agree with you in that we could have done it a different way. I made that clear at the board meeting. For those of you who don't know, I have been the chairman of the board for the past year, and I made my voice heard. I did not like the way we went about doing it. I made that very clear. But I do support Dr. Prince as being the next superintendent because I believe he's been a major part in bringing us where we are today. So I do agree with you, Blake, in the area of that we could have done it different. We could have done better and how we went about it.
Thank you. And Larry, I have one more question, going back to something that Ms. Graben said a few minutes ago, talking about the issue of school safety. And she said something about a database for monitoring kids who might be experiencing problems. And I just wondered if she could elaborate a little bit more on what that would look like and how that might work.
Well, sometimes students will come out to you and say, so-and-so is having issues, or they're threatening, or there's a problem. And if we had a database where they could feel comfortable anonymously reporting anything they see on social media, they hear in the classrooms, then whether there is even an issue, we can at least look into it. We can be aware that there's a problem. Right now, when a student is sent from one school to another, because Miss Mills is right, they do not expel no matter what the situation is, but they will take the student and move them to another school. It would be nice if those teachers had a heads up that this student is coming and that these are the issues the student has shown, and that they are aware of it so that they can maybe help the student instead of ignoring an issue that everyone else knows except the teachers and the new school that they're now assigned to.
Okay, thank you. That clarified that. I'm done, Larry.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ed, Louise, Adam? Okay, we're nearing the end here. And I wanted to go with Donna first. Can you just tell us, this is sort of a summation as to why should you be reelected, I guess, would be the question for you.
I have been a school board member now for 12 years. I have made a tremendous difference on this board, serving with this board. I am proud of our accomplishments. I worked hard, our teachers worked hard, our administration, our superintendent, our community, our parents. I have what I developed in 2011 called the St. Lucie County Public School Speakers Bureau. And we have taken people through this community, through our schools, and now we have a television program as well, where people share their life stories. We've had our superintendent, our deputy superintendent, all kind of people, departments, our HR person. I mean, we've had the mayors, we've had all type of people come on the Speakers Bureau, and they share their life story with our children. This is to help our children emotionally and mentally, and they talk about their struggles. I've shared my struggles as a child growing up and my challenges. And what we want the children to come out of that with is we want them to be inspired, motivated, and know that they can make it through those challenging times of whatever they're going through. Some of our our children are going through so much in those homes. And I understand that because I was one of those children. So I bring people from all over this district to share their stories. And I am proud of our accomplishments. We worked hard for these things. I do believe do I believe we've done all that we can do? Absolutely not. Not at all. There's always room for improvement. And as I'm known to say among my board, that the whole child needs to be educated. It's a holistic type of education. I won't stop until we reach perfection. And I know that there may be some that say that's not possible. Well, if you're reaching for it, all things are possible. And if you work hard enough, we can make it happen. And these are our children. My reelection will allow me to continue to be a voice for the parents, a voice for the children, a voice for the educators, support staff, families. I was just endorsed by, again, the fourth term here, my fourth campaign, by the teachers union, as well as the federal union here in the state of Florida that has over 500 union workers and over 1.6 million people who work in the state of Florida. I've received it every 4 years. I've received endorsement for the past 3 years from TCPalm. I mean, for the past 3 terms from you. And I humbly ask you to keep me on this board, because I want to continue my work to ensure that every child, parent, school board employee is treated with equality, is treated fairly, is treated with respect and dignity. And I want to continue those efforts to ensure our mission, which is that all children graduate from safe and caring schools, equipped with the knowledge, the skills, and most importantly, the desire to succeed. So I humbly ask for your endorsement, and this is why I want to stay, so that I can continue to make the difference that I've been able to make as a St. Lucie County Public School Board member.
Thank you. Donnita, why should voters elect you primary day?
Well, first, thank you, TCPalm and the editorial staff for hosting this forum. I was educated here in St. Lucie County. I went through elementary, middle, and high school as a teacher for 33 years. I taught here in St. Lucie County as a elementary, middle, and high school teacher. I had the honor of representing St. Lucie County as their Teacher of the Year. At Dan McCarty, I started an after-school program for all of the students at the school were eligible. And the following year, I had it for both schools, both Dan McCarty Middle School and Southern Oaks Middle School. So I believe in the St. Lucie County school system, but the measurement of a successful school system would be how many of their graduating students can now go on to the next level. Whatever they decide to go to, they need to be educated and comfortable in that education. And that's what needs to change. And I think I am that person to make that change. And I do believe, I respect Miss Mills. I think she did a great job, but we have a lot of work to do. And I'd like to be on the board helping to move our students to a higher level. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate both of you coming on, and thank you for your answers. This does take us to the conclusion of our meeting today. Thank you both for running your campaigns. It's not easy. I know that. We all know that. But it's an essential part of our representative democracy. As for our viewers today, they can continue to visit tcpalm.com/elections for the latest election information. Again, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having us.
Thank you.